Hello and welcome to NXT. We are here as the main event is just about wrapping up, so we're going to go ahead and do some chit-chat as the main event finishes. I am, of course, joined by Astrid. Cody is on assignment this week, but we are joined by a very special guest. We will introduce you to momentarily Kota Holliday, independent wrestler from the Chicago area. So say hello.
Hi, that's me. I'm Kota Holliday.
Kota is a wonderful person who I found through the Clock Tower community. And if anybody doesn't know Blood on the Clock Tower, it's a fantastic social deduction game that you should definitely check out because Kota is the queen of chaos on all of those.
That's what I do in the ring, outside of the ring, playing board games. I'm a chaos machine. It's not on purpose either. It's just natural.
It's just
Dustin Rhodes style.
Yes. As Astrid's nickname is the Natural as well.
Yeah, that's a nice connection.
Given by one of our coworkers. So, Kota, I hear that you have lots of thoughts on today's episode, huh?
Yeah, okay. So, look, we will get into this, but for those of you who don't know me, I am a pro wrestler. I've been wrestling for about a year, match-wise. My first match was last March in 2021, but I've been training since July of 2020, so just around coronavirus times, right? And I have loved wrestling since I was a child. My grandpa was a tape trader, so I'd watch all his tapes that he would trade, from the Chicago area and the New York area. And so I loved independent wrestling first, and then got into the WWEs and the WCWs and the ECWs of the world, the Impacts, the TNAs. ROH is not an indie company, so they count too. And I will fight anyone on that. ROH has not been an indie company since 2006. I will fight people. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is, I haven't watched television wrestling since WrestleMania was the last time I watched television wrestling. That didn't involve Sky Blue or Dante Martin because they're my people and I have to support Sky Blue and Dante Martin. And yeah, it sure was a show. It sure is wrestling, I guess. The wrestling isn't bad. I'm told that what we do here is we talk about the things we like first, and then we talk about the rest of it. My favorite part, I'll just spoil it right now. My favorite part was the MSK match because they're good wrestlers, and Kushida and the other guy whose name I'm forgetting, they're all good wrestlers, right? So the wrestling itself was fine. It's just, it's so WWE.
Yeah. I mean, and I can totally see that, as the WWE product is a very particular version of wrestling, and it's not something that is for everybody. And so, I can definitely see where it makes some people a little bit less enjoyable, but that's the joys of wrestling. We get to all have our opinion about the things that we like and the things that we don't like, and we all get to come, hopefully, in a perfect world, and as long as we're not on Twitter, it's a little bit better. We get to come to this nice apex where it's we can all just agree to disagree and just love wrestling.
Yeah, and the thing with and so we're talking about NXT, so my opinions are specifically on NXT because I just watched 2 hours of NXT, right? But my opinion is the same for AEW and New Japan and even Impact to a lesser degree, right? All of those four companies have their own style of wrestling, and it's gotten to the point with television wrestling where every single episode is the same thing. And that's what you get when you have produced wrestling, right? And that's probably the right call. AEW runs as smoothly as it does because the producers are in those wrestlers' ears and they plan out every single second of that match, every single time. Same thing with NXT. In New Japan, not so much to a lesser extent because they're just crazy, in Japan, they're just crazy about wrestling. Cool, great. But you know what you're going to get when you watch an NXT match. You're not, it doesn't change the formula. The same thing with AEW, same thing with NXT, Impact to a lesser extent. And I just don't think I like that. Not even as a wrestler, right? Because I have my own opinions about whether or not people should be agenting wrestling matches. I like to call my own stuff because I know what I can do, and I have my own opinion on my own body and my own capabilities. But like if you go to an indie show, you will see so many different types of wrestling because it's a melting pot. Yeah. No one cares most wrestlers don't care what show they're working as long as they are wrestling. And so you will find wrestlers who just want to work their style, and there'll be 8 different styles on one show because they just want to wrestle. They don't care who they're working. They don't care, what crowd, what the names on the promotion. We just want to wrestle. But with AEW and NXT and New Japan, this is the only show they're working. This is the only style they're working. And so it gets repetitive.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very good open to our show. And we're going to go ahead. No, but it's good. We don't, like I said, the reason we bring on guests is to give us a different opinion than the 3 that we hear every week. This is a good thing to hear because in the wrestling world, you get caught in this little bubble where you always talk to the people who like the same things you like, or you guys don't like the same things you like, and you get into constant arguments. And it's nice to hear an outside opinion. And one of the reasons why I like having, when we have guests on, is finding people who might not watch NXT week to week and getting a brand new outside opinion of what the product is and what it looks like and everything else. So this is great. But we're going to be back in just about 30 seconds as we play the intro, and then you'll be back to see our lovely faces. And here we are, back to our lovely faces, Ed, Astrid, and down here we got Dakota. Or Kota. I really am going to screw that up. I have a whole show. But we have, and like I was just saying, we have Choke Goat Gaming popping in and saying, love that point on how the current programs are. So it's not just you. There's a lot of people who are going to feel this way. And so I just want to make sure that, you aren't the only one, as you said in the pre-show. I'm going to be the only one sitting here going, these kids and their wrestling. No.
These kids and their wrestling, says the 24-year-old.
Yes. To the newly 38-year-old. As we see Choco popping in, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, too, because you sneakily got in yesterday without telling Astrid or myself that it was your birthday yesterday, Choke Goat. So, Gomer, happy birthday to yourself as well. We've got Sean Cena popping in and saying hello. But we want to learn a little bit more about Dakota. So Dakota, go ahead and give us a little bit of a brief rundown on NLS, on yourself, a little bit more about your experience, where you've worked, what you did this weekend, because I know you had at least a match this weekend, maybe more.
Yeah. So my name is Kota Holliday. That is my name. I am a professional wrestler. I'm 24 years old. I wanted to be a pro wrestler since I was a little child. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but like I said, my grandpa was a tape trader, so I got to watch all the Chicago wrestling and basically grew up on that stuff. And then when I got older, I watched a lot of just indie wrestling, ROH, the CZWs of the world, the IWA Mid-Souths of the world. Loved IWA Mid-South as a kid, like so much so. Terrible business practices, great shows, especially the 2010, 2011 era. But yeah, so when the pandemic hit, at the time of the pandemic, I was a musician who lived in Lansing, Michigan. And so when the pandemic hit, I got in a bad situation, decided to just completely change my entire life. And I moved to Chicago in search of a wrestling school. I wanted to go to freelance. They did not get back to me because they were not running practices at the time that I emailed them. But I did hear back from the Chicago Style Wrestling Academy, which is ran by Jason Hades and Steve Boz, two legends of the Midwest indie scene. And so July of 2020, I became a pro wrestler. I started training. I had my first match in March of 2021. It was a squash match where me and another one of my training partners that were just picked out of the group of us said, you two you're gonna wrestle these guys, have fun, and don't use your gimmicks because we don't like them. All right, cool. Because at the time we both had separate gimmicks. He was a lawyer, which he currently runs. His name is Eric Schultz. He's a Chicago wrestler who's actually going to be on my show on March 5th, which we'll talk about later. And I was doing like a Vibe Lord partier gimmick. And so we're like, okay, well, if we can't use our gimmicks because we don't want to ruin our gimmicks, let's just make up a gimmick. So we made up the hair metal hair rocker gimmick called Neon Noise. I was Ripcord, which is a name of a wrestler, I think dead at the time, in the Cornellverse of TEW, which is a booking simulator. So TEW, Total Extreme Wrestling, is a booking simulator by Adam Ryland, which is like really, really nerdy of me. But there is a fake wrestler in the fake world of that game because they can't ship with real wrestlers called Ripcord. So I just picked that out because it sounded rockery enough. And Eric went under the name Kaiser Kickdrum, and we were Neon Noise, which is no longer a tag team. But yeah, so that happened. Been a wrestler since July 2020. Been actively wrestling since March 2021, except for I broke my collarbone in April, so I had a really bad setback. When I broke my collarbone, me and my traveling buddy, my friend who I travel a lot, Jax Johnson, we were sitting in the car and we were both just frustrated with our situation. He's been wrestling for 5 years and he's never been able to break out. He's been saddled with, let's just call a spade, racist gimmicks for a lot of his career. And he was just really frustrated with how his career was going. And I was frustrated because I just broke my collarbone. I was in this gimmick that I didn't really like, but we got stuck with because of the fact that it got over with the crowd. And so we just sat there and were like, what are we going to do with our careers? And we decided it was a joke. We wanted to make our wrestling next level. We wanted to do next level stuff. So we came up with Next Level Explicitive. And that was this great idea that we were going to be, it wasn't even going to be a tag team. It was just a lifestyle. We were two friends. We were going to be like the NWO, but not in actual wrestling, just like backstage bones, like how the Clique were, because, we're nerds. And then we dragged our other friend, Saban Gage, into it, who was more Jax's friend than mine, but me and Saban became really close. And then it became a tag team and a stable, and we got merch. And when I got healed, we started tag teaming together. And we did that for the latter part of last year. Yeah, I think I answered all the questions.
How did the tournament go this weekend?
Oh, yeah, this week. So I was a part of a show with 01 USA, which, as far as I know, is the only 01 still existing. I don't think the Japanese 01 still exists. Anyways, but yeah, so they were supposed to have a double header this weekend in Mattoon, Illinois, their main show, and then the second show of the weekend was supposed to be this women's title tournament because their women's champion Sky Blue had to vacate it due to just not being able to work the dates anymore. And so, but that got canceled due to COVID. Happy birthday, Ed. Yeah, so we see cool chats. But yeah, so that got canceled due to COVID. So they rescheduled and had a show on Sunday, which was a live taping, which had it had none of the matches that were originally scheduled to be on either of the shows, but it had the women's tournament and some special bonus matches with some non-women's tournament matches involved. And I got to be a late entrant into that tournament, which, look, 01 USA has had some problems recently. They haven't had the best shows, small crowds. But the one thing I'll give 01 USA is they had an 8-person tournament for a women's title, and 4 of them were LGBTQ. 3 were non-binary talent all 3 of them do not use she at all. They were they, them, or they, he. And plus me, I'm a trans woman. So out of 8 women or 8 people in this women's tournament, 4 of them were not traditional women, which is super, super progressive. And even in this progressive era of indie wrestling, you don't get that a lot. So really, really cool to be a part of that. I got to wrestle Eden Von England, who is a person that I've really, really been wanting to wrestle for a long time. they are someone who I love the way they work, and I'm super, super, super glad that I got to wrestle them. And yeah, that was my weekend.
Did you win?
No, unfortunately,
Oh.
I lost in the first round. Eden went on to lose to Maxie Impaler, who ended up going on in winning the whole tournament. Spoiler alert, but they announced it on their Twitter, so like it doesn't really matter. My pronouns are she, they. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm like, don't be afraid to ask. It's always a good thing. Like I said, in the Clock Tower community, it's fun because it's always, friendly people just like, no, pronouns, they, them, he, they, whatever it might be for whichever player it is. And I've learned that pronouns are important because of Clock Tower. So, so thank you for all that. That was great. Like I said, some of that even I didn't know. Most of that I didn't know because, like I said, it's fun to get to know people and learn the differences in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, that's pro wrestling, right? Like, look, wrestling is all about being different and being unique and being yourself. And for the longest time, I wasn't able to be myself. Like, whether it be I was too scared or I didn't think I would get opportunities. But I only really started like pushing. Like most of the content that you will see me at a YouTube video, I'm wearing a singlet. I'm like very much presenting as masculine because that was just easier for me. It wasn't until like October time that I started. I didn't wear makeup in a ring for the first time I wore makeup in a wrestling ring was in September. The first time I wore a sports bra in a wrestling ring was October, and then the first time I told a ring announcer no, you like I like called a ring announcer out on using he him pronouns was in October. So like this is all so new to me. I've only been wrestling for such a short time, but I'm having a great time with it, and wrestling is my love language.
There we go. So speaking of wrestling, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start getting into this week's episode of NXT. And this was a jammed-packed NXT. They fit a whole lot of stuff.
They did.
Some of it good. Some of it Boa. And we'll get to Boa. For Dakota, who doesn't know much about it. But I don't like Boa. I find him... So we'll get to Boa. So that's when we talk about Boa, we'll get there. The wordsmith popping in and saying salutations to Kota.
Howdy.
It is tea time. But yes, so we're going to go ahead and start. And Dakota, you said you wanted to start with MSK.
Sure, yeah.
That match.
Yeah, MSK, and what the hell were they called?
Jacket time.
Okay, look. So this match had three of my favorite wrestlers in the modern era in it, right? MSK,
and then there's Ika Manjiro.
MSK is like, look, I don't like when people compare other teams or wrestlers to previous like people, especially when it comes to like African American people and teams that are always compared to the nation, right? Stop that stuff. Stop comparing people. We're all unique. However, I'm gonna break that rule because MSK is everything that Motor City Machine Guns like was for me as a kid, but like also just like high. And it's so good. Like I love MSK. I love them when they were the Rascals. I love the other Rascals. Shout out Myron Reed and Trey Miguel. Like there's so much good about MSK, and Kushida is fantastic. The Time Splitters with Alex Shelley was a great tag team. It was great. It was a great match. Like the match itself, it was probably, in my opinion, the best match on the show. There were some other good matches as well, but like that was probably the best match for me. I don't get the jacket time gimmick. Maybe I need to watch it more.
No.
Oh, you're fine.
Nobody gets the jacket time gimmick. It's okay. So the thing is, like Ika Manjiro is obsessed with his jackets.
Okay.
He wrestles in his jacket, as you've seen, and he has many different ones. And he has they actually showed us a closet full of these jackets. And he approached Kushida in the men's room while Kushida was using the stall to form this tag team. And that's the start, and we're here now, and this is what the legendary Kushida is doing in WWE.
So like, look, so okay, So we could talk about the greatness of that match because, like I said, the match was like technically proficient. I love everything MSK is doing except for their association with Matt Riddle. Get Matt Riddle off my television, please and thank you. Won't say more about that, but I will just say that right there. But anyways, like everything else, it's fantastic. However, every single thing I saw tonight, like. Why is NXT 2.0 the new generation of NXT?
Because they decided that they didn't want to have the indie wrestling stereotype associated with NXT, and they wanted to bring it back to the developmental style. That's the in-house side of it. For the outside, it's like we just decided to throw colors on the wall and call it NXT.
But like here's the thing though, right? It's not even like that. I get that. That's understandable. But like they literally went like 20 years back. This is the new generation era, but like modern, right? The weird gimmicks. Jacket time comes to fucking mind. Sorry, I know we can't swear here. My bad. I'm sorry.
We can throw a couple out. I just didn't want to waste NLS just out of the clear blue. I was like, oh, no, we'll save them for things we need.
But like the colors are bright and wonderful, and like even to the champion, like I love Braun Breaker. I think Braun Breaker is actually like really talented, but like to the champion, this is just the WWF's new generation era, but like in 2022, and I just
yeah. One of the things with the MSK match that I really loved the cold open that they did with MSK talking about the trophy, talking about how important it is, and then Wesley trying to touch the top of the trophy and Nash Carter being like, no, you know what happens if you touch the trophy. Don't do that. Bad, Wes. Bad. That was great. I also like the part where Wesley kicked his tag team partner and Ika Manjiro took the bump knowing what the bump was supposed to be. Like, I know I can't sit here, I look at me. I'm not going to be able to get in there and do it. I get it. He didn't get up high enough. Stuff happens. But I do love the fact that he kicked his own tag team partner in the chest and Ika Manjiro goes flying. That was fun for me. But yes, MSK hit their finish to win the match. They have handshakes and bows and hugs after the match. Always nice to see two face teams having that respectful moment after the match.
So before we go into the other good stuff on the show, right? So something bugged me about the presentation. Can we stop, and just pro wrestling in general, AEW does this too, and it really pisses me off. Can we stop having like an entrance, going to the commercial, and then cutting back to a backstage segment while the entrance is still going on? Like, continuity, please. Like, if you you can give me the backstage entrance. You can give me you can even give me the entrance, the backstage segment. You can even give me the entrance and then the commercial. I am fine with that. But why, in any context, would I want to watch someone else talk while an entrance is happening? It just it blows, because that. So I just watched a 2-minute commercial. When the commercial started, this person was making their entrance. Now I just watched the backstage segment. Now they're still making their entrance. The same person. Did they just stand there for 30 seconds? Like, what's happening? Why do you do this for television wrestling?
This is something we constantly talk about on this show. How we love how it's like,
blows my mind.
These people are coming to the ring, but first let's do this thing over here. It's like, why? Why can't we do the thing over there, then let them come to the ring, then do the commercial? You hit it right on the head. Every week we talk about this, and it's the exact same thing. It's like, why do we do it in this order? It's simple ordering. I'd rather them do a jobber entrance where like they did with Persia and Indy, where Persia and Indy got no entrance and all we saw was the end of Kaylee Ray. And I'm like, I'd rather that and have everything in the right order. Now, granted, even that wasn't in the right order, but at least we have that. So that at least if I'm missing the entrance, I'm missing the full entrance.
Yeah, and like for me, it's not even I don't mind coming back to the end entrance, right? But it's just the contrivedness of it, right? Because not only if you just go to commercial, that's one thing. I get it. You're telling us we're going to commercial, we'll be back for this match. Cool. But you're basically telling me that this this interview segment is more important than the match we're about to watch. Because you just have to see this interview segment. We have to get another talking segment from El Hijo del Fantasma, right? Like, I love El Hijo del Fantasma. I forget his NXT name. It's fine. But can you tell that I really like this episode? I can't remember their NXT names. But
it's fine.
What's his name?
Santos Escobar.
Escobar, yes. So we just had to get another talking segment from Escobar. Why? Why did we need that then?
It's infuriating, and it's not only WWE based, like you say. It's AEW, it's Impact, it's everybody, and it's one of the flaws of television production when it comes to wrestling. Astrid, any of your thoughts on the MSK match?
Yeah, it was better than what I expected it to be. To be honest, I love the fast-paced action they had, and the double teams they have with each other. They were so well done. I think the only one that bothered me was when West went for the pin. I think it was with Iggy Manjiro, if I'm not mistaken. How he had to like go back and try to redo it, but it didn't work out the way they hoped it would. But
Superman pin, the one where he jumped and the legs were supposed to catch.
Just like, he was supposed to catch him and he didn't. But yeah, other than that, I really loved the sportsmanship after the match too. I love having that because I feel like we don't see that often in wrestling. So it's nice to see that, especially with like the Dusty Cup happening and in NXT. So it was nice to see that ending like that. But yeah, overall, I love the match. Probably one of my favorites of the night.
Yeah. Astrid, what was your favorite thing of the night tonight?
Oof. I think for me, definitely the ladies match because I feel like we got a little bit of back and forth action, and it just gives us Indy and Persia as probably like momentum towards being contenders, hopefully, and having Kaylee Ray run off of Mandy too, giving us those little storylines connected like that. I really enjoyed it with the girls, and having Indy like be basically what I call the rag doll on the tag team and being in the match pretty much so often compared to the other ladies, and yeah, pretty much. I enjoyed it, and that was the other match that I really enjoyed aside from MSK and Jacket Time.
Yeah, Kota, your thoughts on Toxic Attraction versus Kaylee Ray and Indy and Persia?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Like, so, this was probably the one part of the show where I thought everything went right. Like, even with MSK and Jacket Time, we have to talk about stupid Jacket Time, right? We have to deal with that nonsense. But like, I think Toxic Attraction, although I question. So as a wrestler, I never like to question like the ability of the workers, right? Because we're all doing this stuff. Accidents happen, botches happen, all that stuff out of the way, right? But also as a worker, I know how hard it is to be a wrestler. I know all the dedication it takes. And when I watch Mandy Rose, I just don't know if she has the ability that I would like to see for a women's champion. I think she could be better, but we all could be better. I could be better, but also Mandy Rose has been wrestling for like 6 years. You should be a little bit better of a wrestler after 6 years. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But I think her gimmick is really good. I think the Toxic Attraction Sable is really, really good. I really enjoy Gigi Dolan. Dolan,
yep.
Yeah, Dolan. I love Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell is probably the very few NXT bits I saw in the last year has been all the stuff with Indy Hartwell and Johnny Gargano and them. So I love anything Indy Hartwell. Big fan of Indy Hartwell. Kaylee Ray is probably my favorite women from NXT UK when she was over there and based on NXT UK. So I'm glad to see her on mainstream NXT. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't like a 5-star classic match, but like really nothing is. So it hit all the things that it needed to do. It hit all the character points. It hit all the bullet points it needed. Just please stop interrupting matches and entrances to talk to freaking Phantasmo of all people. Sorry.
No, it's okay. But I agree. I adore Mandy Rose. I really do. I think her gimmick is top notch. It's a gimmick of mine on the show that Mandy makes me melt because she does. I mean, she's fantastic. But that being said, she's gotten so much better from Amanda from Tough Enough. Like,
Yep.
if you look at Mandy Rose, we say 6 years in the business, she could be better than this. Well, if we look back to 6 years ago as Amanda from Tough Enough, the girl who almost walked off the show because she wanted to get married.
Yep.
Like, she's done a really good job getting better. Now, is she in line where she should be as a world champion? No. I mean, there are definitely more talented people, especially in that women's division, which is absolutely loaded. When you talk about Indy Hartwell, Io Shirai, Kaylee Ray, that's the top of it. But you've got people like Saray who's coming back. You've still got younger people in here like Persia. You've got Gigi Dolan. You've got JC Jane. You've got people that we don't see like Wendy Chu, who is Karen Q from ROH. Like, there are so many talented women in this division. But at least they're not making Mandy seem like she's like God's gift to wrestling and like trying to insult us that she's better than everybody. They're like, no, she's got a stable, she's got numbers, and that's how she wins her matches. And I'm like, okay, that's believable. They're at least giving me a reason to believe that Mandy is our world champion.
Look,
at least that way I like it.
For every bad thing I have to say about Mandy Rose, Mandy Rose is everything Summer Rae wishes she was. So, like
speaking of Summer Rae is all in the news right now.
Summer Rae.
Legend. WWE legend.
Man, Summer Rae is a hot mess. But so like I said, I have my own opinions on the skill level of Mandy Rose. But like just real quick, to be honest, like at least if you would have told Kota a year ago, 2 years ago, that Mandy Rose would be the breakout star of her tag team with Sonya Deville, I would be punching you in the face because Sonya Deville is amazing. And things happen, and now she's in a position, and she's doing the best of what she has. But like, I would have never expected Mandy Rose to be anything, and yet she is a very passable women's champion. So, like, there's no taking that away from her for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I'm not sitting here and trying to claim that Mandy is a fantastic women's champion. She's not. She's not a completely believable women's champion.
She's no Victoria, that's for sure.
But in the role that they've given her, in the position they've put her, with the people around her that they've put her with, it makes sense for the story. Yeah. And that's all I ask, is that don't insult my intelligence to make me think that she's going to be, Mae Young in the ring. I'm like, who's a legend that I can do that's not offensive? Instantly, my mind goes to Moolah because she was the women's champion for so long. I'm like, no, can't do Moolah. Moolah's bad.
Yeah.
I don't talk about Moolah. But I'm like, Mae Young. Mae Young's good. We can use Mae Young. Her, China, people like that, Trish. Like, they're giving us a believable reason that she's not God's gift to wrestling, but that at least she's using the toxic attraction of her and her group to make the men bend to her will. And we saw that a little bit with, we'll talk about it later, with Idris Enofe and Malik Blade.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure, for sure.
Mae Young's a legend, not Bula. Yes.
So when I see Toxic Trash, and I basically see the beautiful people, right? And like, Mandy Rose is a better wrestler than any of the beautiful people. So like, at least they're doing something right?
Yeah. I mean, I always liked watching an Angelina Love match. I mean, I wasn't enamored with Velvet Sky's in-ring ability, but Angelina Love always seemed to have a relatively high level of in-ring capabilities.
It's not confirmed yet. It's not booked yet. I don't even know if I should be saying this, but I may get to wrestle Angelina Love in May, so that's fun.
Ooh,
that's a completely non sequitur, but yeah, Angelina Love is coming to MPG Wrestling in Bloomington, Indiana, which I work for pretty frequently, and I will be wrestling for this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to wrestle her. I've been angling to wrestle her. Been throwing that at the boss. Who knows if that will happen? But yeah,
we shall see then. You'll have to keep us informed.
For sure.
For me, with my stuff, for my favorite stuff of the night, it's everything surrounding Santos Escobar. And agreed. Him interrupting the women's entrances to go ahead and cut his promo was poor timing. But everything else that he did tonight was really great. The in-ring thing where they have Legado del Fantasma coming out after MSK's won their match, and they have that stare down to keep going what happened last week. Because in NXT, nothing, we say it every week, nothing happens in a vacuum. Everything kind of flows together.
Mhm.
So something that happened on last week's show and, continues to interact with different things that we get. So last week, there was a segment where Legado del Fantasma was saying, oh, we're going to win our match. And, we're going to face you guys in the next round. And then they lost. So this week, when MSK wins, they come out and there's a stare down because Legado del Fantasma is jealous that they lost in the tournament and they don't get to face MSK. You then get Santos Escobar coming out and killing it on the microphone, talking about, everybody's saying all these wonderful things about Braun Breaker and all these great things. And, thinking that people like him and people like me are from the same cloth, but we're not. And I love how he's like, yeah, his uncle was great. His dad was great. That doesn't make him great. They can't even do math. And I'm like, yes, the math stuff. Anytime they reference math, Steiner math is one of the greatest things in wrestling history. So anytime somebody can take a shot at Steiner math, I want to. But Santos out there killing it. Braun Breaker comes out, cuts, again, a very basic Braun Breaker promo. He puts himself out there and says, look, you want to do this? Let's do this. And Santos is like, nope, no, young champion, not your time, my time. We'll do it when I want to. And he's like, but these guys are going to get a piece of you at some point. And I'm like, all right, they're going to be stupid and try to attack him, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, they did, they got their butts kicked. Later on in the night, Santos continues to talk, and this is during the in between the Toxic Attraction entrance and Indian Persia's, where Legado del Fantasma is mad that they got beat up by Braun Breaker, and they book a handicap match, as Santos calls it, because he doesn't think Braun Breaker is the champion is going to find a tag team partner. Lo and behold, as the show went off the air and we were doing our pre-show, we see that not only does Braun Breaker find himself a tag team partner, finds himself a pretty darn good tag team partner. He finds Daddy. That's what we call Tommaso Ciampa on the show. I don't like typing out Ciampa every time in my notes, so I always just write Daddy.
Hey, it works.
Daddy.
There's three daddies in wrestling. It's Effie, it's Sonya Deville, and it's Tommaso Ciampa. So I'm fine with all three of them.
Daddy Deville is definitely a thing. Oh yeah, Sonya's suit game is better than in any of the men's suit game. Like I will defend that passionately to the end of the earth. That woman's suit game is far more than it should ever need to be.
Mustafa's a good competition, though. Have you seen their picture together?
Who?
Mustafa Ali.
Oh yes, Mustafa Ali. Yes. He has a great suit game, but nothing touches him.
Mustafa Ali, a Chicago legend who I've been very lucky to share a training ring with. Love Mustafa.
Hopefully he can find some happiness when he
free Mustafa Ali.
Ali. Hopefully he gets some happiness where he can find a place where he works where he wants to be and where they can value his opinion as well. Dar Amazing popping in and saying, you missed an opportunity to hear this week. Here's the story of two brothers, Rick and Scott. There's plenty of time. I'm sure we'll hear it. I like how they always talk about Santos Escobar's legacy, but they never bring up the names of his father and his grandfather, which I think is very interesting by WWE.
That's a good thing that like the one good thing that I'll give NXT, right, is they're very good at showing, not telling. Yeah. Like even not knowing the backstory between the MSK and the Phantasma. Although I hated this segment because going back, like the beginning of the segment, going back to the whole thing where you did a thing, you cut to something else, and then you go back and the thing's still happening. You could have just had MSK celebrating, and then here comes, like, you did not need to cut away and then cut back to, but that's just me nitpicking. Like they did a really good convincing me that stare down was important, and that stare down conveyed what it needed to convey.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also want to thank our sponsors here. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and thank our sponsors with Manscaped. So I am going to go ahead and do this for a moment, and I'm going to get this loaded up. Remember that support for NXT is brought to you by Manscaped. who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with using the code LOVEWRESTLING at manscaped.com. The Lawnmower 4.0 is absolutely fantastic. And if you get the Ultimate Care package, it comes with the ear and nose hair trimmer, the Weed Whacker, which I use on a regular basis. It also comes with the boxer shorts. It comes with the t-shirt. It comes with the ball deodorant, and it comes with the ball toner. All kinds of wonderful things come in this package. The Lawnmower 4.0 has multiple guard lengths to be able to allow you to trim just the areas that you want to trim. The skin-safe technology avoids nicks and cuts on the areas where you definitely don't want nicks and cuts. It helps you to be the most confident man that you can be in every situation. And again, remember, that's 20% off and free shipping with the code LOVEWRESTLING at manscaped.com. manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping using the code LOVEWRESTLING. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Sorry about that. We have to thank our sponsors every night. Yes, Ed with the big screen.
Hey, I'm all about getting that bag. So look, all the sponsors, let's go. Let's get it.
Yes, people, birthday, big screen. Yes, we'll do all that stuff later for the fun and games. That being said, let's go ahead and get back to the show. We already talked about MSK having the great cold open and then having the MSK versus Jacket Time match. The segment that Dakota was just talking about is after the match and the hugs and everything else. They cut back to Zoe Stark and Io Shirai. Now, this is another long-running ugh of Ed's, where we never got the Zoe Io thing because NXT did a very poor job of making us try to like Zoe Stark by trying to have her get along with Io Shirai and Io not wanting to get along with anybody. And they went to a Japanese restaurant, and like it was like Zoe Stark, the foreign person who didn't understand how things work. So she's like eating a big thing of wasabi and she's throwing her food behind her because it doesn't taste good. And the waitress comes up and, you know, she's talking to Io and they start talking in Japanese. And she's like, do you guys know each other? He's like, no, we just speak the same language. And she's like, oh, because you speak Japanese. It's like, no, because they just understand each other and they get each other. And it's just like, oh, Zoe Stark. She's so talented in the ring, but just they make me want to hate her. I don't want to hate her. I want to like Zoe. We get Io and Zoe backstage where Zoe's saying that she's not going to be ready by April. So this, what we thought might have been a small kayfabe injury, is turning out to be a very legitimate injury for Zoe. So we wish her all the best in her recovery, because I thought it was something just to ride her out of War Games. Turns out it's not. It's riding her out all the way through pretty much the middle of April. But we get the Io Shirai has starting to take a shine to Zoe Stark, it seems, because she goes, I don't want another partner. She's like, does that mean because you like me? And she starts to pretend like she's mad and irritated. And then we get Tiffany Stratton coming up, and Tiffany's doing a fantastic job with this rich girl daddy's gimmick. I adore the gimmick. Her in-ring work is getting better. I'm very excited to see where she goes from here. And we get the confirmation it'll be Tiffany versus Io tonight. I'm like, oh, adding another women's match. I like this. More women on the card is always a good thing. Did you guys have any thoughts on this backstage segment?
I mean, it was like I expected it to happen sooner or later. So because they hadn't announced much of the girls for the cup yet. So I kind of expected something to happen between Io and Zoe to tell us whether they'll be in the tournament or not. But just the part of Tiffany interrupting, just like I hope they don't put Io with Tiffany though, because it's even worse than having her with Zoe. But yeah, other than that, I like how they added the other ladies match in there, and Tiffany looked a lot better in this match than she did in the first one. So
Yeah.
I didn't mind it.
Kota, any thoughts from you on this one?
Placement was weird. Like I said, I hate that. I hate that jump. But like, so this is the cool thing about doing something like this, right? Because like honestly, I almost didn't come on the podcast because I don't watch NXT. But like, it was really cool because I was introduced to so many people who I didn't know existed and probably won't ever watch again, but got to see like a little snapshot of them. And so like, just from watching the match and from watching her interaction, I thought Stratton was cool. Like she's not the best, but she did a really good like heel character, I guess. It was fun. I had fun with the segment.
Yeah. So Tiffany Stratton's thing is she had about a month of vignettes saying that she's basically the daddy's rich girl.
Okay.
Her background is that she's an Olympic, a U.S. team gymnast. I don't think she ever reached the Olympic team, but I know she was on the U.S. national team that won gold at one of the tournaments. So she's an Olympic, she's a national team gymnast who's turned to wrestling. So we got a few months of vignettes of her just being like the daddy's girl. So that's the gimmick that she's portraying. That's why after her match tonight, she went ahead and she was like, Daddy, all these girls are awful. The referee was bad. Like, just the epitome of just fun, heel, mean girl. Like, I'm cool with that. Like, there's room for so many different types of people. And you can have the Io Shirai's, and you can have the Zoe Starks, and the Kaylee Rays, and the Mandy Roses, and the Tiffany Strattons, and the, Indy Hartwells. There's room to have all these different wonderful gimmicks. And Wendy Chu walking around with her with her little sip cup and pretending to sleep everywhere. It's just fantastic.
She reminds me a lot of Brooke Hogan. I don't know if that's a good thing.
They may be trying to make her portray a little bit of a Brooke Hogan, and I see it now.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember who it was that it made, because it feels like Regina George, but it's not, but it is. And yeah, Brooke Hogan's a really, really good example.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing to run down the show, we then got MSK posing when Legado del Fantasma came out. But then after Legado del Fantasma came, again, going back to more of the why do we not do these in a different order, Legado Fantasma comes out. We then cut to a backstage promo where Cameron Grimes is talking about his matchup with Tony D'Angelo. To which we cut again to Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams arriving with Ollie J. Man, I really could have done without Ollie J on this show.
Same.
Man, I really could have done without Ollie J.
What's his gimmick?
Ollie J is the girl who sang.
Oh yeah. Her.
She has the NXT theme song.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. All I have to say is I agree.
Yeah,
I'll leave that one there.
the internet's doing plenty to make us not have Ollie J again. In me and Astrid's Slack chat, where we always talk about the show as the show goes on, I go, man, seeing Ollie J makes me miss, Bad Bunny. Hell, it makes me miss Poppy. Like, I didn't love having Poppy here, but at least she made sense. She likes the product.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't. Okay. So I don't like when crossover needs to make sense, especially when you had a really good gimmick in what are they called? It was Swerve and Top Dollar and all them. What was their name? What was their group name?
Hit Row.
Hit Row. They were such a great gimmick. They could actually make music, and they were good wrestlers. And now he's got a shoehorn, like, air quotes, pop stars. Never heard of this girl before. Don't know who she is. I didn't know she existed until I watched this episode of NXT. Like, why do you have to do this to me, WWE? Why?
Okay, neither did we.
We watched the show every week, and we had no idea that she was the one. I thought it was just a WWE produced person who was singing with Wale on the theme. I had no idea it was an actual pop star. No, we don't sing it anymore because we're sad. We used to sing it. It used to be Hit Row. That was an old rule on the show, but since they've been released and they're no longer. But Swerve is doing wonderful things, and Swerve is fighting Ruby Soho, I think. Yes. At an upcoming indie show.
So real quick antidote. This never happened, but I pitched this to a couple companies. So my my tag team partner Jax is a wonderful human. But I pitched the idea that when Swerve got released, I wanted like a company to have their world champion do an open challenge, and like I wanted to be a reputable company and a reputable champion. I was pitching this to I never pitched it to the company, but my idea was before I got cold feet on pitching it was to New Wave Pro, who their current champion is Miles. Don't Die Miles. Wonderful company, wonderful champion. But they have like stars in all time. They have JTG in all time. I think they're going to be having Swerve in at some point. But my idea was have Miles or any champion do a open challenge, and you play Swerve song. You play the Shaka Khan, ain't nobody love you better, and you play it for like 2 minutes. You milk that thing. You milk it all the way to the first chorus, and then out comes me and Jax, and it just get nothing but heat. Jax would play off it so well. I am super annoying, so like it would be so good, but it just didn't end up going anywhere. I still think it's a really cool angle. Shout out Swerve. Swerve is doing great stuff. Swerve was on my very first indie show, as an adult back in 2017 that I watched. I wasn't on it, but I went to when I saw Evolve in Michigan back when Fabian Aichner was the Evolve champion and the Street Profits were Evolve tag champions. That's how old that show is. Anyways, that's a aside. I mean, sorry.
The Street it wasn't that long ago because the Street Profits were in NXT when they were the Evolve Tag Champions.
Yeah, that was like 2017. That was like 8 years, right? Feels like it.
Oh God, has it? Oh God, it has been that long. Oh, I keep forgetting how old I am. Oh. Okay, moving
on. Your birthday, sure.
Yeah, quiet. We don't need to keep saying that. So we had the Santos Escobar promo after Ollie J showed up with Trick Mello. And then we got the Boa promo where he talked about the backstory to this match. And then we got Solo Sikoa, the third Uso, versus Boa in the no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match. Cody, your thoughts on this one?
It sure was a no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match. Okay, so I said earlier that NXT does a really good job of making you feel the importance of things. Except for in this instance. Why the hell was it a Falls Count Anywhere no DQ match? I didn't know because they didn't tell me. Sure, I think they did like a video package at some point. I think, could be wrong there. I thought they did.
They did,
but
right
like
before the match.
Yeah, they did that the video package, and sure, that told me why they were having it. But the match itself felt like it didn't have any stakes. Like, sure, it had all the cool spots. They did like. I really like the Samoa drop into the chair that Boa that Solo caught Boa when Boa was running in. Solo caught him and hit that Samoa drop into the chair. Really cool spot at the right at the offset. But like it was a match. Sure, it was a match.
Don't worry, we feel the same. Boa has been on this roster for seemingly ever, and they can't. I mean, let's put it this way. He goes back far enough that he was in the first of the what was it? What was the thing that Carmelo won this year that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, Ashley?
The breakout tournament?
The breakout tournament. Yeah. The one that was won by what's his name? The one who got really mad about the t-shirt and left.
Oh, ACH?
Jordan Miles. ACH.
Yeah,
Jordan
ACH.
Miles. Yeah, ACH. That's how far back Boa goes because he was in that breakout tournament with ACH. ACH, aka Jordan Miles. Yeah,
he was a stalwart of 205 Live. I know Boa. It's just like who cares? Who cares about Boa? Who cares about Solo Sikoa? Like this match had no like. Sure, I get it. They're having a feud. The storyline, the whole package told me. But just who in the match was like, what, less than 10 minutes, 10 to 15?
Mm-hmm.
For a no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match on a throwaway episode of NXT? Like, I get it. You want your product to be enticing. You want to have all these cool matches. But you announce you're having Judgment Day. You announce you're bringing back one of the greatest WWE pay-per-views of all time in Judgment Day.
Vengeance Day.
Oh, Vengeance Day. Whatever.
Because of Valentine's Day. Yeah.
It's the same thing. Vengeance was also a great pay-per-view. Judgment Day was a great pay-per-view. Judgment Day had the theme song. That's why. They did Judgment Day at one point, right?
They did. It was great. I miss it.
The end is here. Sorry, that's a tangent. But no, you have this big show you're doing. If you want me to invest myself in these mid-card guys, right? Make it feel important. Don't give them a random 15-minute match on free television. That is Armageddon, Dara Basing. Can't you tell I don't watch WWE? Can't you tell?
Trust me, I watch WWE all the time, and I still can't get into Boa. I'm all for Solo Sikoa. Like, this dude's the third Uso. He's the younger brother of the two Usos. He's in the family tree with The Rock. He's in the family tree with Roman Reigns. Dude's going to be fantastic. Dude just needs a feud that actually means something, because wrestling Boa is not going to get my attention.
Also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But also, hey, NXT, can you stop insulting my intelligence, please? Look, I get it. You want Solo Sikoa to be on his own. You want him to do his own thing. You want Braun Breaker to do his own thing. You want Gunther to do his own thing now, right? But please stop insulting my intelligence. I know Solo Sikoa is the third Uso. I know that he's the son of Rikishi. You are making me believe, by giving all these people different names and changing their names and dropping names, you are telling me that wrestling is fake. You are telling me that these people aren't the names they say they are. With wrestling, to me at least, wrestling is supposed to make you suspend your disbelief and buy into what they're selling to you. I cannot buy in that Solo Sikoa has no relation to the Usos or Rikishi when he looks the way he does. And you told us that he was the third Uso for 6 months before he debuted. You loved him being the third Uso when he wasn't on your roster, but now that he's on your roster, he has to be Solo Sikoa.
The funny thing is they brought it up on their own, in their own programming during his vignettes, when they talked about how in one of his promo packages, he says, I was part of a family and we were down on day one, but then they left and I was left alone and solo. And I'm just like, all right. Like, if they want to give him an identity away from them so that when they bring him in to work with them, that it means that and it makes more sense and all that kind of fun stuff. But again, it's like you said, it's with the Braun Breakers, where Braun Breaker wants to do his own thing and he doesn't want to be a Steiner. And there's all the problems with Scott Steiner and the Triple H and WWE and all the fun stuff that's never going to be resolved between those parties. And, like you say, there's just so many people that they constantly do. And the Gunther name change, which we'll get to. And we spent a lot of time on that last week, where just because Walter came over, let's give him a new funny name.
Okay, yeah. We'll wait till we get to Gunther, because I think this was my biggest problem with NXT and with what I saw today. Because I actually did not know the Solo Sikoa thing. If they said it in the video package today, I must have blanked out on it. But the whole Solo Sikoa thing is interesting and makes me cool, great. But then why are you having him do every trademark Samoan thing, right? It just frustrates me when you try to when they try to get one over on their audience. We're not smart. But that's sorry.
No, it's fine. Every now and then, WWE needs to be taken to task and told about the things that they're not doing right, because it's something that they do all the time, and it's constant, and they sometimes feel like they take long-term storytelling when it suits them. Like when Rollins on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago says, the Usos are the reason why you're the champion. You've always had somebody behind you leading the way, like me and Mox did when you were in the Shield. And it's like, oh, he said Mox, and it's like, well, of course he did. They were best friends. Do you not remember 6 months, 2 or 3 years ago when he came out and they all hugged when Roman went away? Yes, we know they're friends. Just because Moxley went away to AEW didn't mean that he stopped becoming a friend.
Yeah, I don't know though. My opinion on stuff like that, and like my opinion on the thing where like they mentioned the math promo, right? Like, well, the math promo drop was funny. It was a one-liner. I love that promo. It's like the Rick roll of wrestling, right? It's always going to be funny. It's like saying 69 and then giggling after. Like, it's always going to be funny, no matter how much it's overplayed. I hate when wrestling, and this happens all the time in every promotion, when the wrestlers try to get points with the smart fans. Like back in like 2018, right when AEW started, Sami Zayn came on Raw like the week after Double or Nothing, and did like the whole thing where he says, well, if you don't like me, maybe I'll go and be elite in another company, or maybe I can make an impact. And it's just like, we get it. There's other wrestling companies. Congratulations. We're smart. Ha ha. Can't you get, like, it's cheap heat, and I hate cheap heat. And it's why I did not like, I don't like the majority of the MJF and CM Punk promo battles, because yes, they're good promos and they're both great promo works, but they rely way too much on cheap heat. Because like, haha, I name dropped somebody that's in the other company. Look how smart I am. Like me now, smart fans? I know you like me.
No, it's a complete thing. Yeah, cheap heat works in certain spots, but so many people overuse it to get over on the fans, and it's more often than not, it's at the fans' expense as opposed to a nugget to bring the fans in. Like Rollins using it as a piece to bring in an element to a story, as opposed to, like you say with Sami Zayn, using it to take a jab at someplace else. Whenever I think of WWE taking jabs, it's when Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were about to be fired, and they didn't have a brand, and Kurt Angle's like, well, you can go to TNA, knowing it was now Impact Wrestling. They were like, well, we'll just say TNA. You can go to TNA. They're always hiring. And it's like, I mean, Kurt, you were there long enough. Do you really need to do this? Like, I get that the writers want you to say it, but come on, Kurt, have some self-respect for yourself.
You spent more time in there than you did WWE. Come on, Kurt. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a quick break as we go ahead and promote one thing. We have our friend Cody Defoe, our normal co-host. He's going to be starting his own show as he's working with various guests. So we have a clip from Friend or Foe, and when we get back, we're going to run down the rest of the show and talk about NLS is for everyone. So right after this, we'll go ahead and talk to that. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
This is a problem that I think they had at the time then, that I think a lot of independent places have now. Whereas the amount of women wrestlers you have is very scarce. Therefore, you can run through all the situations very quickly. That's why you kind of tend towards, well, maybe if we put one in a position to look really strong, we can then go and see if we can have them wrestle a couple of the guys, because now it's fresh. And I get it in that end. But really, what are you doing to the evolution of the women's division at that point when you're no longer using women to help elevate the women? I think that's an aggression because of situation.
It's a very fair point, and I know we've talked at length a little bit about the local scene here and how it's a very similar situation with only 3 or 4 women consistently on the roster, and that you blow through those 4 women in all combinations as quickly as even as slowly as you want to, but it's still going to happen in relative quick succession. And so you have to try and find ways to keep it new and keep it fresh. And you end up with women going and trying to wrestle for men's championships, and you end up with men wrestling for the women's championships, and you intermingle, and it just becomes, why have a divide in your divisions if you're going to intermingle there?
Well, my thing too is, if you're going to do that intertwining aspect, it's a very specific person that you're doing it to, which I think is really bad because it sets the wrong perception. And I said this for a while, wrestling is all about perception. If you have, say, a feminine male go into a women's division, it's more acceptable than if he had, say, an alpha male.
And that was Chris Parrish, our own Chris Parrish, talking to Cody Defoe on intergender wrestling. Since we have you here, Kota, I want to get your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on the clip we just played?
Okay, so my thoughts on intergender wrestling is that intergender wrestling as a topic and a thing, it's so it is chiefly indebted to the mainstream cis het viewpoint on gender itself.
Mm-hmm.
I am a trans woman wrestler who mainly wrestles men, but also wrestles women. I was just in a women's tournament. I have a tag team with a man, and I want to wrestle women's divisions. Like I don't hate women's divisions. I don't think that any divide is bad and evil, right? But you have to make a decision on what defines a woman and what defines a woman's division. And I find a lot of times when you, like, I think that clip is right. When you push a promoter to ask what defines a woman, it is stereotypes. It is the gender divide. It is everything that we are trying to, a lot of LGBTQ people are trying to push back against. But that doesn't mean you should throw it away, throw it in the trash. It means you need to figure out what you are willing to do. And go back to the example, 0-1 just had a women's tournament, and one of the wrestlers was a non-binary wrestler who had a full beard. Like Jack Kennedy is a wonderful, wonderful wrestler. They are fantastic, and they deserve to be in any division they want to be. But they have facial hair. They are, because if you saw on the street and you were a het person, you would classify them as a man, air quotes, even though it's not what they are. Absolutely not. They are a non-binary human that deserves to be recognized as such in whatever division they want to be. But, 0-1 had to ask themselves, what does our women division allow? Does it allow whatever we want to allow, or does it allow what people would perceive as a woman or womanly features? And they made the right choice and said, we'll allow whoever identifies as non-male. And I think that was the right choice. And I think every promotion has to make their own decision on that, and whether they allow intergender wrestling at all. I am a big fan of intergender wrestling. I think intergender wrestling should be more normalized. Yeah, that's my take on intergender wrestling.
Well, thank you. And speaking of things being for everyone, we're going to go ahead and give you a moment to promote NLS is for everyone and to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So this is a show that we're going to be doing here at the Berwyn's Eagle Club in Chicago. Technically it's Berwyn, but it's fine. It's Chicago. On the 5th of March, which is my birthday month and also my 1-year anniversary in professional wrestling as a worker. NLS is for everyone is an inclusive, all-encompassing professional wrestling event that is a love letter to professional wrestling. It is 12 matches long, 3 hours of a Midwest supercard. Some of the matches that we've already announced are MV Young versus Joey Mayberry for the Enjoy Wrestling Championship. Enjoy is a company in Pittsburgh. They're letting us use their title for some reason. Marche Rocket, a Chicago living legend, versus Don't Die Miles, who is currently the New Wave Pro World Champion. Other matches on that card include a scramble featuring Axel Rico, who is a wonderful wrestler in the Chicago area. We have Vic Capri, who was on AEW Dark recently. Marche Rock is on NWA. He's wrestling Miles, but Vic Capri is wrestling Doom Montgomery. We have announced Gary J versus Eric Schultz. I think we announced that match. And yeah, so many more matches. Mateo Valentine's going to be on the card. Unannounced matches are myself, Jax Johnson, and Sabin Gage. We all have singles matches that will be announced very soon. We have a women's triple threat that will be announced very soon that I don't want to give out the participants just yet, but one of them is a superstar, really, really big name that we're really excited to have involved with us. And so this is a show. It was never supposed to happen. We are 3 independent wrestlers who are self-funding the show. We have 1 sponsor so far. We're looking for more. So if you are, just popping on this podcast and want to sponsor a wrestling show, hit my DMs. But we were never supposed to do this. This was a joke that I made to Jax at a wrestling show when we were setting up the ring. I asked him, hey, how much could it cost to run a wrestling show? And he was like, bet, I'm going to call a venue. And he did. And the next day he told me, I'm paying the venue. What for, Jax? We're running a show. Are we? That was a joke. Oh, well, I already paid them. Okay, cool. I guess I'm a booker now. And so that NLS for Everyone is on March 5th, and it's really cool.
And for those who want tickets, you can go ahead and go to eventbrite.com and search NLS is for Everyone. Tickets are, I believe, $20 and $25, if I remember correctly.
Yep, that is correct. 25 for front row. There's 40 available. We will have more front row available. We may have more front row available, but we need to sell out the front row tickets that we have. And then the general admission is $20. And yeah, it's at the Berwyn's Eagle Club, a historic venue for Chicago wrestling. Everyone runs out of Berwyn's Eagle Club. Berwyn Championship Wrestling runs out of there. Shimmer runs out of there. AAW used to run out of there. Shikara ran out of there when they ran in Chicago. Freelance Wrestling used to run out of there. It is a historic. It is our mecca professional wrestling here in Chicago. We love Berwyn's Eagle Club, and we love the fact that they're letting 3 nobodies do a wrestling show. So if you're in Chicago on March 5th, come hang out, come enjoy some great wrestling.
And while we're going ahead and giving some plugs, I want to go ahead and plug one of our other sponsors, Rich King and RK Athletics. Rich King and RK Athletics help make all the Love Wrestling different content possible. So go ahead and support them at RK Athletics 1 on Twitter and Instagram. Rich King is taking on new clients for personal training, both in person in the Edmonton, Alberta area, and he is also taking on new clients virtually. So go ahead and reach out to them, follow them for all kinds of bodybuilding tips. And Rich King is himself in RCW along with Chris Parrish in the Edmonton, Alberta area. So go ahead and catch them at any RCW show. While we're going ahead and plugging all kinds of fun stuff for us, we now have a What a Maneuver store. So whatamaneuver.net/collections/love-wrestling-ca. And you can get yourself your very own Love Wrestling t-shirt. We also have our Pride design that's still on there. And all the proceeds from the Pride design go to the Trevor Project. So if you still want to support the Trevor Project through us, please go to our What a Maneuver store and go ahead and get that. We also have our new Live, Laugh, Love Wrestling shirt that Astrid is wearing on there. And Astrid, I believe you have something to say about the collections at What a Maneuver.
Yeah, I finally got my shirt on there now. Yay! I'm so happy. Yeah, my friend Marco designed the shirt for me, and I asked for permission from him and Matt, of course, because he gave me the name. So you can find your own The Natural shirt and your hoodies on the shop too.
Yeah, so if you want that, if you want to blow the budget, I know B2B's got a couple different designs out there. You know, if you want to blow the budget with Between Two Beards, go ahead. All kinds of fun stuff. So go ahead and search that at whatamaneuver.net/collections/love-wrestling-ca.
Love Wham. Wham is a great source, great store. I don't have my t-shirts and stuff through them, but one of my favorite people in wrestling, I just named every other LGBTQ wrestler I know besides Mateo Valentine. Mateo Valentine has the What a Maneuver store, and they are fantastic and lovely. So What a Maneuver is a great resource.
Yes, they have been fantastic to us as we've moved over to them after all of the fiascos with everything else that's gone on with other shirt designing companies that shall not be named on this network anymore. We move on the show. We had Duke Hudson backstage as he had his match with Guru Raja from interrupting it last week. But first, we obviously had to get another promo, because why can we have the thing that they told us was going to happen next happen next? We had an Imperium promo. This was a really good promo. I love when they let Imperium speak in their native languages. Marcel Bartel does a fantastic promo when he's allowed to speak in his native German. Eichner is fantastic when he gets to speak his Italian. It sounds so lovely. I love hearing him speak in his Italian. Well, this whole promo is to cover up Walter in his new shit name as Gunther. I mean, it's great. I mean, maybe it's true that it's a family name. Sure. I mean, he's Austrian. Maybe his father or grandfather was named Gunther. It's still a crap name. Walter is such a great wrestling name. You could have just stuck with Walter.
Okay, so actually, hold on. I know I've been talking so much, but like legitimately, I think Walter was a shit wrestling name, right?
Oh, Chris Jericho did too, because that tweet's been out there for the last couple of days now.
Yeah.
Like the only reason why Walter is considered a good wrestling name is because he was Walter for so long. My problem isn't that they changed his name, which also like stop changing wrestlers' name after we already got acquainted with them. WWE, it makes no sense. Why are you doing this to me? Stop saying wrestling is fake. But also, if you're going to change his name, make his name actually good. Like, can we give him a good wrestling name? Because Walter was dog shit, but at least it was noticeable. It had a name brand. He was on your television for multiple years. He was on NXT before. Like, he existed as Walter. The Imperium existed on NXT as Walter. Like, why did you go from a shit name to a shit name? Like, do better, WWE, please.
He walked into the match as Walter, won the match, was about to be named as the winner of the match as Walter, and was told, and he got his own microphone to say that his name was Gunther. Like, that's the moment that the name change happened.
I blame Kyle O'Reilly.
It is definitely Kyle O'Reilly's fault. I forget what the
tweet
tweet was.
To be fair, I do like the reasoning for it. I like that they explained it. It made sense why they changed it. But if you had to pick any Austrian name, first off, give them a last name that's not a Nazi's last name. Thank you. Be helpful. Secondly, anything that's better than Gunther. Like, and I'm sorry if you're an Austrian that's named Gunther. I'm sure you have a really dope last name that helps the problem of you being called Gunther. But Walter doesn't.
We went on this tirade last week. It's fine. We then did have Duke Hudson finally come out, and he squashed Guru. And then Dante Chen come back out, and Dante Chen's like, Duke, I'm going to give you the courtesy of what you didn't give me last week when you attacked me. I'm going to let you know I'm coming. And he came out, and they got into a scuffle, and then Duke Hudson gave him a cheap shot on the same leg that was injured when he first debuted about, what is it, 6 months ago? I think it was. And it looks like there's going to be a feud between Dante Chen and Duke Hudson. So they're telling a story. Let's see where it goes. Dante Chen is a very interesting character. I loved his promo from last week. It made me feel something. It made me feel like it's an important thing to pay attention to him, and I'm hoping that his in-ring ability is going to be able to match. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Any thoughts on the quick squash match that Duke had with Guru Raja?
Yeah.
No. We had Indian. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, my only opinion is I really like Duke Hudson. I liked him when he was Elliot Sexton back in Australia, with the Mighty Don't Kneel. I don't know. I always enjoy seeing people I recognize, and especially when I don't watch the product for a while. And I think Duke Hudson's okay. He's good. He's decent.
Yeah, he got rid of the poker gimmick, which I think is really good.
Yes,
because I really didn't like the poker gimmick.
Yeah.
We had Indian Persia backstage talking about focus, which I thought was interesting because Indy was yelling at Persia about not being focused, and then she's like, "Really, you're going to be the one to talk, Mrs. Loomis?" Which I thought was nice. KLR comes in; they're all on the same page, which is nice. The baby faces are all aligned. They don't have to worry about coexisting. They're all friends, and they're going to get along. It's actually nice for once. Toxic Attraction makes their way to the ring. I adore the Toxic Attraction entrance. If you're going to do a thirst trap gimmick, you're going to have to do it right, and they do. Plain and simple. Toxic Attraction is, like they said in their promos, it's what the gimmick entails. It's a thirst trap, and it works. You've got 3 completely different women on that are completely different in the ring, outside the ring, in everything. And they all come together in a wonderful package. Any thoughts?
No, the usual.
Yep, I think I said everything I need to say about this match back when we talked about it at the very beginning of the podcast. It was a good match, serviceable match. I like all the gimmicks. Yeah, I think it was decent. I will never say no to having Kaylee Ray on my TV stream.
Yeah. We had Idris Enofe and Malik Blade have a promo package after that match had ended, where they were, these guys are the enhancement talent of NXT at this point in time. They're not supposed to be the guys getting over, but they got their big win last week, and now they're going to be taking on MSK, and they want more, and they want to win the Dusty Classic. And if they win the Dusty Classic, I'll be honest, I don't remember which one was talking, because you don't hear them talk enough to know which one's which. Mm-hmm. But I think it was Idris talking to Malik Blade, saying that Malik Blade needs to ask out Mandy Rose. And then the other one's going to go ahead and ask out both Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. And I'm thinking, I don't know if you're big enough to handle both of them.
I think it was Idris that said he was going to ask out Gigi and JC, because that's when Malik went set up on his Instagram, like, you're a bad influence on me. So I think that's how I pictured it when I heard him.
I like that they're giving them a character. Yeah. I like that they're finally bringing in somebody that Toxic Attraction can kind of have to lead around. That's, they can use their feminine wiles on these two naive young men and get them to do their dirty work for them. This could be fun.
Yeah. It was inoffensive.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
It was fun. You're giving two guys who are mostly enhancement talent a storyline and a character. That's good. You're giving more people something to do, and you're introducing us more to these guys that we're going to see on television. There's never anything wrong with showing us people we're going to see on television. GYV came out, but again, we can't have GYV coming out to the ring without having another promo segment. We have Cora Jade trying to get, as I put in my notes, Cora shows up to get Cora to join in the Dusty Classic. That's not how that happened. Cora Jade showed up to get Raquel Gonzalez to tag with her in the Dusty Classic. I think Raquel Gonzalez is going to tag with Io Shirai in the Dusty Classic, because Io needs a partner and Raquel Gonzalez wants a partner who can do the job. So I think it's going to end up being Dakota Kai and Cora Jade. And I think it's going to be Io and Raquel as the two different tag teams in the thing. Although I still stand by my statement last week, I would love to see Dakota Kai trying to go through this whole thing and make it all the way to the finals wrestling by herself, arguing with herself.
That'd be great.
We then did get the GYV versus Chase U, which is Andre Chase. Did somebody say Andre Chase? Love that guy. Oh, Chase U is fantastic. And Bodie Hayward making his NXT debut. Bodie did really good in this match. I was really excited. You can tell he's very inexperienced and they're not giving him a whole lot to do. And they put him in there with probably the most talented and longest running tag team in WWE, with putting him in there with the grizzled young veterans. But it's a good thing.
Yeah, let me point out real quick. They also did a good thing for him by giving him, in my opinion, one of the most underrated wrestlers from the mid-2000s indie scene in Andre Chase, a.k.a. Harlem Bravado. I love the Bravado Brothers. I was a mark for the Bravado Brothers, and I thought Harlem was the better of the two. Lancelot was great. He retired in like 2016 or something like that. But Harlem Bravado, aka Andre Chase, is one of the missed opportunities of the mid 2000s. He could have been.
Oh my God!
I honestly think he should have been signed up back in Black and Yellow. I think he would have fit perfectly in Black and Yellow NXT.
How did I not put together the fact that he's?
Your face expression
I never put the two of them together.
Yeah. Speaking of that Evolve show, that my first indie show back to watching indie shows back in 2017, Harlem Bravado was on that Evolve show. I forget who he wrestled, but he was on that show.
I never put the two together. No wonder why I like Andre Chase so much. I knew there was something. I knew I liked this guy. Now it all makes sense. Thank you for putting the two of those together. Does Cora defeat Raquel next week? No, but maybe. It depends. It depends what they do this weekend. Everything depends on what happens in the Rumble.
Oh wait, yeah, it's the Rumble this weekend, isn't it?
This Saturday is the Rumble. We will be having something special on Love Wrestling. We're still not sure if it's a watch party or a reacts. We will have something this Saturday night at one point. So keep your eyes peeled to the Love Wrestling socials as we figure out what's going on. Astrid is organizing all of that.
Can I make a prediction about the Rumble?
Absolutely.
Oh.
So it's not actually about the Rumble itself, but I believe in my heart of hearts that Charlotte Flair is going to screw Lita out of the Rumble win, and Lita is going to wrestle Charlotte Flair in the non-Rumble winning match at WrestleMania. And I think it would make me watch at least 4 weeks of whatever show. Who's Charlotte Flair SmackDown champ now?
Yes.
Yeah.
It would make me watch at least 4 weeks of SmackDown if Lita won the SmackDown Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair doesn't need it. Charlotte Flair isn't that great. I know Lita can't wrestle that well anymore because she is a bit older and you look like she was never the greatest wrestler to begin with, but I would die. Victoria can't do it anymore, so let me have Lita at least. Come on now, WWE. Let me have one of my
I love
legends.
Victoria.
I think Victoria comes back in this Rumble, by the way. I think she's still in there.
I would die for it. Victoria is my favorite wrestler of all time. I love Tara. I love Tara so much. Victoria is great. I don't think Victoria is able to have the run that I want her to have. I think she was a little bit not that older wrestlers can't be great. I'm not saying that at all. But I think Victoria would tell you that she may be a little bit too old to have the run that Lita's having right now. But I'm excited for Lita anyways.
We can always ask our friend Ella J, who co-hosts Power Out, where she is the editor for the Gaw Women's podcast.
There you go.
So always a possibility, but who knows? Like, I never imagined that Trish Stratus and Charlotte Flair were going to have the match that they had a couple of years ago when Trish came back to have that match with Charlotte. So, I mean, anything's possible.
You know what was a missed opportunity before we get back to the show?
Yeah.
Trish Stratus and Lita had that 2 weeks where they were a tag team on Raw, and they should have done so much more with them. They could have at least milked that for a month, least for at least 1 month. They gave us like 2 matches on random Raws.
Yeah, and well, it was all building to a match between it was Alexa Bliss and was it Mickie James?
There was Alexa. It was supposed to be Alexa versus Trish, and then Mickie
Versus Lita.
Yeah, but then
Alexa got the concussion issue, and then it ended up being Alicia Fox,
and it got combined basically the match
into a tag match. But remember, Alicia Fox is a legend because she has a really, really good Northern Lights suplex.
Exactly.
I mean,
look,
it's a fantastic suplex. Don't get me wrong. But
look, Alicia Fox is one of those wrestlers that. So some wrestlers, they don't go as far as they can because they, look, I'm projecting, but like they don't think they don't do enough for themselves. They're just the company people. They're the right hands. They're whatever the company needs. Alicia Fox is one of those people. If Alicia Fox was in the independent scene for the major part of her career, she would have been way more respected than she is now. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no, I have no disrespect to her. I just know that it's always that one line where people are like, Alicia Fox, WWE considers her a legend, and everybody's like, we don't want to say anything bad about Alicia Fox, so we'll talk about how great her Northern Lights suplex is.
Yep.
And it's not even so much that it's an insult; it's a meme because when you think about Alicia Fox, the next words out of in your mind every time you think about Alicia Fox is Northern Lights suplex.
Exactly. That or Noam Dar going Alicia Fox.
Oh God, the Noam Dar stuff was great. And was it Cameron's favorite match? It was what, Alicia Fox versus
Melina,
yes.
Yep, I won't forget that.
NXT Tough Enough, you were too good to us, Tough Enough. We didn't know how good we had it. I miss Tough Enough. There was some great dumb stuff that happened on that show.
You know what I miss? Like the like in the Tough Enough vein, I miss TNA Gut Check. Man, that show was a mess.
Yeah.
Gut Check was the worst, but it was so good.
So many talents came out of it too, though. At the end
Yeah,
of the day.
including everyone's favorite serial killer, Dexter Loomis.
Yes, Mr. Indy Hartwell.
Mhm.
Melina versus Alicia Fox, 5 stars. Yes, only in Cameron's mind. At the end of the GYV versus Chase U match, GYV won by hitting Bodhi with a double shoulder breaker, which isn't their finish.
Thank you, Dara Mason. I was going to say that one too.
Dara has it, and with TNA's Gut Check, we also have British Boot Camp.
So
Yeah.
British Boot Camp was Spud, and it was the Blossom Twins.
Yeah, I think there was a couple other people on there,
Mhm.
but those were the ones that came out of it at least. And anything that gives me more Rockstar Spud and Drake Maverick, I'm happy with. Like, Drake Maverick is a dumb name, but at least I got used to it and I loved it. Yeah, Drake Maverick was there as Rockstar Spud.
Mhm.
But yes, so GYV hits the double shoulder breaker move to beat Bodhi. And then Von Wagner came in and attacked everybody with Robbie E in tow. And Robbie E says that Von Wagner is no longer suspended and he's under new management, which can only mean that Von Wagner will be released within the next 6 months. So Robbie E has this really terrible luck of being paired with somebody
Yep.
and then said somebody being released. And if you want to know the track record, Chelsea Green, released. Taya Valkyrie, released. Jesse Kamea, released. Aaliyah on SmackDown in catering. And last but not least, there was Mercedes Martinez, released.
So you know what the fun thing with Robbie E, right, is him getting signed out to be came out of nowhere. It's
Yep.
a lot like Dexter Loomis too, but like Dexter Loomis a little bit less so because Robbie E was back teaching, like he was doing nothing, like he wasn't doing a single thing before he got picked up to be what's his WWE name now?
Robbie E is Robert Stone.
Oh, Robert Stone, yeah. So yeah, like it was so weird for Robert Stone to come up on TV because like, what have you been doing for the last 6 years, Robbie E?
And I want to bring up this darn amazing thing because this was great. Wade Barrett did call it a shoulder breaker, and it was absolutely a spiked tombstone pile driver on the outside. That was a fun little miscue by oh no, I'm sorry, it was Vic. It was Vic Joseph that did it instead of but yeah. Love it when commentary makes a little oopsie like that.
It was good to hear Vic Joseph again.
Vic is fantastic. I miss Beth on this team.
Yeah.
Like I never thought I'd say this when Beth started with Morrow and them, but when Vic got there and they put Barrett in there with them, the three of them melded so well. And
Yeah.
while I'm happy to see Beth back in the ring and being in there in the Grit couple versus the It couple, which is going to be one of my favorite matches of the Royal Rumble this weekend. I can't wait to watch that match. She looks fantastic. But no, I miss Beth on commentary with these two because her and Wade had the most fantastic like sibling rivalry relationship ever, especially when it came to NXTea. But Barrett and Joseph have this really cool camaraderie / I'm going to mock you, especially from Barrett. It's the I'm going to mock you, and Vic never wants to say anything nice about him. It really works and it's really fun.
Well, so I love Vic Joseph. I loved him back when he was with Corey Graves and Jerry Lawler on the Raw team. I really liked Vic Joseph. I've missed him on commentary, so I haven't been watching NXT and such. This pairing is everything that Corey Graves ever wants to be as an announcer, right? Because like you can say what you want about Corey Graves as a human or an announcer. Like Wade Barrett just does what he wants so much effortlessly, and Vic Joseph is more likable than Michael Cole. So it's like, okay, we just have better Michael Cole and Corey Graves. Good to know.
Yeah. And I'm I'm anxious to see if we see Corey in the Rumble now that he's supposedly been cleared and that he's just waiting on a good story. Because rumor has it that he has been being pitched story after story and he's turned down everything that's come. I did like Brock Lesnar asking him politely if he wanted him to get naked for him last night on Monday Night Raw. That was always fun. As Corey goes, I had a man who could beat the hell out of me who's a cowboy offered to get naked for me. How was your night? So, Corey has his moments where he's delightful. Corey's also a knob. So
Big knob.
you take what you get with Corey Graves, and if he does something great, you love it when you can because Corey's a knob. We then got Grayson Waller backstage with his Bollywood security guard, who now has finally gotten a name. I wish they would have said it in the beginning of the promo as opposed to ending it with it. But we get Zenga, who is, for those who don't remember, for the tag team Indus Share that was managed by Malcolm Bivens before he got the Diamond Mine. This is Guru, who was the one who spoiled Keith Lee winning the double championship on the tape show against Adam Cole and got Indus Share put into the doghouse that Veer still hasn't come out of, and he's still coming to Raw. So we get Zenga now. Grayson Waller is a wonderful Australian gift. I know Josh doesn't like him. Zenga isn't just coming, he's already arrived and been on television. Something Veer wishes he could do, being on television. We then got Tiffany Stratton versus Io Shirai. Tiffany has new music. It suits her very well. She got rid of the cheerleader type outfit that she had last time. It's more of a wrestling style outfit. And she is absolutely fantastic in that ring. For being as green as she obviously is. And because, Kota, as you can say, in wrestling training, it takes you a long time to be able to get a lot of the ins and outs of how to bounce off the ropes the right way and make things look great. And I think she's really doing a very good job in her year plus, or less, working with the Performance Center to be looking as talented as she is in that ring.
Well, so a little bit peel back the curtain thing. You'll have wrestlers who are just naturals. I am not a natural wrestler. It took me 3 months to be able to bump correctly. Like, I am just now getting to a point where I'm happy with any single match I have, right? And I'm getting opportunities that I should never be getting. Like, the opportunities I get as a wrestler, I should not be on this podcast or doing podcasts at all until like a year from now, just because of what my natural ability is. But then you'll have wrestlers that are just absolute naturals, and I love seeing those wrestlers wrestle because like it just clicks for them. Yeah. And I think that Tiffany is coming along very nice. If you like, I didn't know she was only a year or so in until you told me, and that's how decent she is in the ring. Plus, it doesn't hurt to wrestle with Io Shirai.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, being in the ring with Io Shirai is always a help. Everybody will look better wrestling against Io Shirai. Io Shirai was very savage at one point in this match. I remember this one because I wrote it down. Io Shirai knocks her down and says, "Do you want to call your daddy?" And I'm just like, "Oh, Io. Oh, Io, thank you."
Well, what you skipped over real quick to get into that point is we had another, the 4-4-5 back from the break, and here's a segment when we're about to have a wrestling match.
Did I miss one?
Yeah, there was a recap on Odyssey Jones' like injury.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't write that down because it didn't.
And then the match started. So.
I didn't write that one down because I honestly didn't care enough about Odyssey Jones's segment to write it down. But yeah, so we had Odyssey. Dar Amazing does point it out, and we'll get to this where Grimes had his promo where he talked to Tony D was talking about his boys last week with all the funny names, and he said he has Benny, and the Franks with all of his $100 bills, which is absolutely fantastic. I love me some camera grabs. Io Shirai wins this match as she should. It's a great showcase for Tiffany. Tiffany looks great in defeat. As we said, later on in the night, Tiffany's on her phone to her dad, talking about how the referee doesn't know what they're doing, and that all the girls here are mean, and she has a run-in with Wendy Chu, and she steals and throws down her sippy cup. I call it a sippy cup. It's a cup with a straw.
It's like a tumbler.
Tumbler, whatever.
So I'll say this. I'll give them their credit, and AEW also gets credit for this. The big companies are really knowing how to do squash matches without doing squash matches, huh? With this match, and then on Dynamite last week with Sky Blue versus Serena Deeb, both of those matches were fantastic about getting the loser who was getting basically squashed enough stuff to make you care about them while making their opponent look like absolute monsters. So good on Io Shirai for this match, and good on Serena Deeb for the AEW match. Got to give credit where it's due.
And I also want to give credit to where NXT is doing. Now, granted, they do this most of the time. We had the Tiffany Io match. We had the women's we had the 6-woman match. We also had a promo segment with them, and we had a promo segment with Io and Zoe, and we had a promo segment with Cora Jade. That's 5 segments. Now, granted, some of them are 30, 40-second promo segments, but that's 5 segments devoted to women's division things on a 2-hour wrestling promo on top of 2 matches. That's pretty good.
AEW.
I mean, SmackDown and Raw too. SmackDown and Raw are a little bit better. Normally we get more on the women's stuff than 1 or 2 things. But there's 5 segments here. Let's call it 3 or 4 when you put these things together. But at least they give their women something to do. It's a women's title feud and then other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about AEW, because I like AEW, but they could do so much more with the ladies. Like, at least last week they had at least the mixed tag match, and then they had just a regular women's match. So it felt nice to see more than one women's match technically, but they could do better than that.
Yeah, they're at least trying.
Yeah.
We had Diamond Mine, where as I love it, Malcolm Bivens shits on the Gunther name, which I think was great. He says that he can capitalize his name and just call himself Dumbass, which I thought was also fantastic. He basically sets up the Imperium versus Diamond Mine 6-man tag that was named official at the end of the show. Oh, we have our friend Josh Robinson in the chat. Hello, Josh. There. Josh Robinson does the Legacy of. We just had, if you want to go ahead and check out this week's, the season premiere of Love Wrestling's The Legacy of with Josh Robinson. He had the Legacy of DMD, Britt Baker. So go ahead and give that a check out on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. There's the link right there. So we had the Diamond Mine stuff. And then we're going to go ahead and go over this real quick. I'm going to say 5 words and we're going to move on. Trick Mello introduces Ollie J. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We then got a Tony D versus Cameron Grimes promo to the main event. This was fun. I can say all of us were pretty much not watching the main event as we were chit-chatting, learning as much as we could about each other in the pre-lobby as we were telling stories and having some fun. But this was a fun match. From what I did catch of it, I did like the finish where we had Pete Dunne come in with a 2x4, I think it was.
I think so.
It was something in his hand where he hit Tony D's hand, and Cameron Grimes hit the cave-in on Tony D for the win. So Cameron Grimes will be taking on Carmelo Hayes at some point for the North American Championship. That was great. They're Amazing says it could have been a cricket bat. It could have been anything. It was something. He hit him with something. It means we're not done with Tony D versus Pete Dunne, and I'm okay with that. It means that Tony D versus Carmelo Hayes will happen at some point in the near future later on, and I'm still cool with that because it gives us Cameron Grimes versus Carmelo Hayes coming up probably at Vengeance Day. Kota, your thoughts on this match?
It was a good main event. I am not sold on Tony D. It's a personal issue. I can see that he's good. There's just something about him that just rubs me the wrong way. And I don't know why. I can't explain it to you. If I could, I would have like a full, essay on it. Cameron Grimes is great. I love Trevor Lee. I love Trevor Lee when he was Trevor Lee. Him and Andrew Everett was one of my favorite tag teams for a while. I think his Cameron Grimes gimmick is amazing. But just something about Tony D, it just doesn't click for me. The match was good, technically. I thought Pete Dunne's interference was fun. I think it was a cricket bat, but it literally could have been anything, like you said. I think the match was overshadowed by the ending segment, and you never want that with your main event match, right? Like if your main event match is so just okay, that that the ending segment leaves you more hype, then I think you have a problem.
Yeah. And the ending segment we're talking about is Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma approach Braun Breaker outside the arena. And they're like, oh, look, we're going to beat you up because you're all by yourself because you leave here last and everybody else is gone. And out comes Tommaso Ciampa to help him. And Legado del Fantasma tucks their tails and runs, which is what they should do because they're the heels. And that's what they do. And we get Daddy and Braun Breaker versus Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde next week. And that is going to be a whole bunch of fun. And that was NXT this week. It was a good episode. It didn't have any pacing issues. It suffers from, we're going to tell you something and then cut to something else and then come back to something else. But that's kind of what we get with all this stuff, unfortunately. So it is what it is. So unfortunately, that's what we got for that. Otherwise, no pacing issues. It's continuing to build. Vengeance Day is looking like it's going to be Santos Escobar versus Braun Breaker. It looks like that's where we're going to get Mandy Rose versus KLR. It looks like that's where we're going to get the finals of the Dusty Classic. They said we're going to get them there. Mm-hmm. It means we're probably going to get Walter versus Roderick Strong again at that pay-per-view. We're going to get the North American title match there. We're going to get the women's tag title match there. So that show is going to be pretty stacked. Mm-hmm. Could be fun. Cody popping in saying not going to be able to run in, but I'm here to throw a happy birthday. Thank you again, Mr. Cody. I appreciate it.
I tried.
You tried. Cody did say he was going to try to run in, but unfortunately, like he says, he is working, so he's just going to go ahead and toss it in the chat. Cody, we appreciate you watching anyways. Coda, we're going to give you a chance to promote some stuff here. Normally, we would give you the big screen, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw up some graphics for you. So we got, again, we're going to say NLS is for everyone, happening 3/5/22 live in Chicago on March 5th. It's from Berwyn.
The Berwyn Eagles Club in Berwyn, Chicago, Illinois. It's one of those suburbs that technically is in Chicago, but technically has its own suburb name. It's weird. Chicago's weird. Weird. But yeah, Berwyn Eagles Club in Berwyn, Chicago, Illinois.
And if people want to follow you on Twitter, they can follow you at
Kota Holliday on Twitter, Kota Holliday on Instagram. And those are my main two things, Twitter and Instagram, Kota Holliday. Buy my merch at brainbustertees.com/wrestlers/NLS. You can also get Jax Johnson and Save Engage merch there. New merch coming soon. Shout out to my trainers, Jason Hades and Steve Boz. I would not be anywhere without them. Shout out to my friends, Don't Die Miles and the whole Shooter Don't Die crew, Billy Starks. I love you. You're one of the people that put it's weird when a 17-year-old pushes you to be better, but that's what Billy Stark does to me. I will always gladly represent the Big Starks brand. Shout out to Sky Blue, my little sister, killing it on AEW. If you want to catch me live, my upcoming shows, I will be live in Bloomington, Indiana. I don't know the address, but you can go to MPG Wrestling on Facebook and find where the address is. That will be this Sunday. I'll be in a fatal four-way with Ari Alexander from OVW, Colby Max, who is the School of Morton Women's Champion, and Freya the Slayer in a four-way for the AIWF International Women's Championship, a title that was held by Thunder Rosa at one point and is vacant. So that match will be on Saturday. And then that is I'll be back at MPG on February 12th. Keep your eyes tuned to the EWE Epic Wrestling Entertainment Twitter and IWTV page for the upcoming Breakout Classic tournament that they're holding. That I will be a part of. Myself and Jax Johnson will be a part of that tournament. That's filming on February 5th, but I think it's going to be airing in April. So go to the EWE Twitter for that. CSW, you'll find me here, Chicago Style Wrestling. Go to CSW Twitter for all those dates. I'll be there. You can catch me at Northland in Woodstock, Illinois, which is another local I do. And that's pretty much all like the big dates that I have coming up. If any wrestling company wants to book me, hit me up my DMs. I'll wrestle for literally just to wrestle. So hit me up. I love wrestling. It's my life.
And speaking of Billy Starks, for all of those who enjoy Billy Starks, remember to catch Between Two Beards this week, as Billy Starks is their guest at 8 p.m. special time, 8 p.m. for Between Two Beards this week, as we have our monthly Quizplex show as well coming on. And I believe it is going to be the Champions of the Champions edition of Quizplex, if I read correctly in the Slack chat. So Billy Starks will be on that. We're going to go ahead and give Astrid a chance to promote some stuff.
Oh, finally, I got stuff going on.
Yes.
So let's see. We start with a new episode of Astrid Asks. It's probably going to air on Saturday with Ruby Rays, aka Razor Pops. And then I have hopefully also the Royal Rumble watch along that we're going to be doing it. So crossing fingers that we can still do that. And like we mentioned earlier, I have the shirt on What a Maneuver. So check out our shop and you can see my shirt design is going to be there as well. And yeah, I'll be back next week again for NXT on Tuesday with Cody and Ed as usual.
Yes. And of course, you can find me here co-hosting NXT with Astrid and Cody and whatever special guests we may or may not be able to pull in. You know, Between Two Beards blows most of the budget most weeks, but every now and then we find some scraps from Spenny Love to be able to go ahead and try to find some wonderful guests for everybody here. Otherwise, catch all the wonderful Love Wrestling content, like I said, Quizplex. And you can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca. You find us on YouTube at youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. You'll find our shop at lovewrestling.ca/shop, where you can go ahead and get your masks. You can get your fanny packs. You can get your stickers, all that kind of fun stuff. You can get your Sunday brunch mug. Sunday brunch mug. It's a fantastic mug. You find all that stuff. Yeah, just go ahead and support us where you can. Remember, with Manscaped, if you go to manscaped.com and use the code LOVEWRESTLING, you get 20% off and free worldwide shipping there. As we said, we do have the return of Quizplex. So Quizplex will be back. Dara is excited for that. Cody's excited for Astrid Asks. But I also want to make sure that I point out, because I didn't point it out earlier when we talked about Friend or Foe, Cody Defoe's show, Friend or Foe, will be airing tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on the Love Wrestling channel. So go ahead and check that out. For me, for Astrid, for Kota, just want to say thank you for joining us. Yeah, me.
Happy birthday.
No, we're skipping that. It's over. It's 11:56. The day's almost over.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Ed.
Thank you.
Be good humans.
Yes, everybody be good humans and remember to love wrestling and love others.